Welcome to hour number 2, live right here on this Saturday on College Football Today. He is OK Dubs. That is Kevin Walsh. He is the mastermind of the college football pigskin. That is Joe Lisi. I am Ben Stevens. This is my top 10 as we enter week number 8 of this 2024 college football season. But before we get to the top 10, the finest around the nation, those just on the outside waiting to get in. It is the wait list before we dive into those 10 best programs. No particular order up here. LSU, Iowa State, Kansas State, representatives of the Big 12, Texas A&M into the waiting list as well. In Boise State, guys, I don't know if you paid attention. There's 10 teams with a minus in front of their price to reach the college football playoff. Iowa State and Boise State, 2 of those 10 teams, Lisi.
I like the look. Boise State with Genty is playing phenomenal right now. Genty, right. And Iowa State, even though they have, I believe, a difficult game with UCF today, they should run the table. They do have Texas Tech potentially on deck, which could be a roadblock, but they're playing well. And Rocco Becht is there, leading that offense. I will say to you,
please,
because we talked about it on the radio side, Army and Navy, could they ever crack or to the very end to be like next up?
To get into the next up to the wait list to be considered a top 15 program, still a little bit that we need to see. But based on where they stand in the American, if they stay undefeated, if they keep stacking up wins, we'll see how they rank against the team that will be in the top 10. Spoiler alert, Notre Dame, how they perform in that matchup. There's a potential. I do think there is a chance, though, that either the Black Knights or the Mids can contend for an AAC championship. And if that's the case, maybe a college football playoff spot depending on ranking.
Yeah, they're plus 2,000 to make it right now.
Yeah, I think the games at Notre Dame loom large for both of those teams. Their schedules are atrocious up until this point.
Fair to say.
Like they make Liberty look like they're playing in the SEC with the way some of those schedules have lined up. So here's the tough part with Big 12 specifically. Iowa State, K-State in the mix, that's great. There really, though, isn't an argument that BYU doesn't deserve to be the highest-ranked Big 12 team, other than we kind of know they're – like, there's no way they're as good as the results are, but they did roll K-State, who I think is the best team in the Big 12. Then they beat Arizona. They just won again last night. I know, crazy fashion. Oklahoma State. A zombie. Gundy should be fired. I'm sorry. I don't care how long he's been there. This is a disaster with what he's done this season.
Yeah.
10 years, great. Goodbye. Sorry. You ruined OG. That's the life raft they need.
20 years.
Yeah.
How many years did I say?
10. So double it. But it's fair enough.
Point made.
BYU, it's tough. Again, I'm not going crazy. But, it's hard to throw K-State here and not BYU when BYU's unbeaten.
Yes, and listen, in a lot of polls and rankings, that head-to-head matters a little bit more than in my top 10 where we do project. And K-State still a better price to see the college football playoff than BYU, at least entering this week before last night's game. Yeah. BYU unbeaten, 7-0 for the first time since that magical 2020 run. And the Cougs, who were perfect against the number entering last night at 6-0 ATS, did not cover as near a double-digit favorite. BYU would probably be 16 on the wait list to the wait list. It was difficult for me to decipher those Big 12 teams entering this week.
Yeah, again, because I think they are both better, I'm not going nuts about it.
Yeah.
But that is, again, this is where this is fun. This is fun.
Yeah.
This is fun. And then the CFP playoff rankings will come out. Things will get locked in. And then we're going to get a little jammed up with some of those things. Because if the season ended today, right? If I said, hey, forget projections. Season's done today. You can't put a playoff together without BYU in it. You can't.
And Texas Tech, too. So they're
No, you can. Let me tell you this right now. I can build a 2014 playoff without Texas Tech.
Texas Tech is undefeated as well. They have
no, they're not.
In the Big 12.
In the Big 12.
In the Big 12.
And BYU's undefeated
and their one loss is Walsh State, which is 5-1.
Yeah, and a 1-point win against an FCS phone Tarleton State. We're going to compare resumes at the end of the year.
Arizona State, they beat Cincinnati. Those teams 4-2 and 5.
Arizona State and Cincinnati.
Arizona State's 5-1.
BYU beat Kansas State and does not actually have a loss.
Okay.
Texas Tech is
and SMU.
Texas Tech is not in the same class in terms of resume.
We'll see.
No, it's not. We'll see. It's a fact of the matter.
We'll see.
It's not. We'll see.
They could earn an automatic berth with a Big 12 title.
Not the best
Still
team.
a lot of work.
They're the best team in the Big 12.
Ooh.
BYU can't be the best team in the Big 12.
He's not saying that.
That's
he's saying,
what he said.
No, he's saying resume
best,
right now.
Best
they have
team
the
in the
best.
Big.
They have the best resume in the Big 12.
All right, but Texas Tech is undefeated as well in the conference.
But there's two teams that are also undefeated throughout the entirety of the year: Iowa State and BYU in front of the Red Raiders.
Okay, all right. I'm just saying. Texas Tech in the conference can make some noise. We're talking Kansas State that has one loss. You got to throw. I mean, Texas Tech could be in there as well.
And Kansas State probably not deserving of this wait list. I project them out a little bit further because they were my pick to win the Big 12 before this year. Still think they are on path to do so despite the loss to BYU. Now let's move on to the top 10. Did not think it gets so feisty with teams not even listed. Here is the top 10. We start by working our way up. At 10, it is Tennessee. Clemson up a spot, as is Notre Dame. That's the 8 and 9 distinction. I did make the move. Miami in front of Alabama. The Hurricanes undefeated, and despite the 2 non-covers in a row against Virginia Tech and Cal, if Alabama responds the way they did, Kev, last week with also a large non-cover and tested by South Carolina at home, they're going to be moved down a peg.
Yeah, I think where Clemson is right now is relevant for when we get to this portion of the conversation. Notre Dame is just a personally heartbreaking thing to see. The fact that team, had they not lost to a MAC team, would be here, maybe.
No doubt.
Like, is so frustrating just as a personal fan of that football.
For me, it's Miami. I want to see how they perform today. If they can win on the road in Louisville, I think based off of what happens with Alabama and Tennessee, I would put them in the top 5 if they dominate like I think they do today.
You reminded me of a question, actually. If you had to guess, will the loser of Tennessee be on the waiting list or completely out?
Oh, really good question. Alabama, if they lost, would probably still be in the wait list if Tennessee gets beat big today at home by Alabama. And the questions that we have now in SEC play, the Vols probably fall all the way out. All right, 5-1, working our way up here in the top 10. Checking in at number 5. Drum roll, please. It is Ohio State, all the way down here at plus 450. But again, silver lining for those in C-Bus. Yes, you should question the job security that Ryan Day has despite a 61-9 record. Your price to win the national title, it's still better than that of Georgia and Oregon and only behind Texas. Again, just a silver lining, but because of the resume, they don't deserve to still be in the top 3. Ohio State at 5, Penn State 4, Oregon moves up to 3, Georgia still in front, and Texas at number 1.
I like the look. I'll just say this for Georgia right now. They lose this game today. I think they don't make the playoff. I'll say that.
Nuts.
I don't.
They'll walk in backwards. They could lose out. They'll make the playoff. You're nuts. You're nuts.
I'm serious.
You're nuts. You're totally shocked.
I'm serious. They lose today.
If they lose today, you got them losing again?
Possibly, yeah. Maybe Florida. Why not? It's a rivalry game. It could happen. Why not?
Maybe Florida.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Tell you what. Leave the other books alone. No. Call me.
Yeah?
I'll take the action.
All right.
I'll take the money line action.
We'll make it on the side.
Yeah, that's
we'll
no
make
problem.
it on the side.
That's no problem.
Cocktail party, man.
They still play Tennessee, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
All right.
And Ole Miss.
Yeah.
You had a lot of options, and you went with Florida?
No, I'm saying a rivalry game.
I know.
So
they got a lot of rivalries.
They have
Tech rivalry game.
Why not?
Yeah.
Did they cover the number against G-Tech last
year? Did they beat them?
They beat them.
Okay.
Right, by like 10.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I know.
Hot
take.
Let me tell you something right now. I did sometimes.
So you said Alabama if it wouldn't make the playoff, but if Georgia has 2 road losses and drops another game, you're going to put them in the playoff?
Yeah, because they're
based off what?
Yeah, no problem. I'll answer that. That's okay. If you want to add,
Clemson
or do you want to
win?
keep it? Yeah. See, here's the funny thing is, no, Joe, right?
Okay, the Clemson team that you bash.
The Clemson team that I bash.
Right.
That is top 10 everywhere you look.
Right.
You, every morning. Hey, Joe, what do you think about the Heisman race? Cade Klubnik, anybody? Hey, Cade Klubnik? Hey, Klubnik? Hey, this Klubnik? You hot on this Klubnik? Let me tell you this right.
Pretty well.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm nimble for a big man. Ooh, would have thought. Great rankings by Ben.
Thank you so much. That's all I've ever been asking for. More CFT up next.
That kid on the 2-point conversion play was wide open. on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
So those Big 12 conversations started quite a flurry over there for Ben's Top 10. Now we dive into some of those best teams in the Big 12 and how they fare on this third Saturday in October. Iowa State, number 9 in the country in the AP poll, just on the outside looking in my top 10. And a perfect 6-0 for the first time since 1938. The Cyclones back home in Ames tonight, hosting Central Florida as a 13.5-point favorite. Kev, Iowa State laying nearly 2 touchdowns at home against the UCF team that got off to a great start this year and has now lost 3 in a row. They were favored in all 3 of those games. Now they're catching 2 touchdowns. Iowa State has covered in all 5 games the Cyclones have played against FBS foes this season. Is it too large of a spread, or is Iowa State deserving of laying 2 TDs at home?
I think that Iowa State laying double digits is fair, but I like the Central Florida spot here, and partly because this number has grown due to the fact that it's Ja'Cory Brown in and KJ Jefferson out. Look, I don't want to attack KJ because it's not his fault that one of the dumbest things I've ever heard was said by too many people. But my gosh, every single person that kept mentioning KJ Jefferson and Cam Newton in the same sentence because Gus Malzahn was the head coach, you should be ashamed of yourself. I mean, you really should, because Cam Newton is one of the greatest college quarterbacks this sport's ever seen, and KJ Jefferson is just a guy. He'll be long forgotten, okay? And Ja'Cory Brown had more rush yards against Cincinnati than KJ's best performance so far this season. KJ averaged 10 yards per pass attempt in that game. They moved the ball more than those 13 points suggested. R.J. Harvey is still this offense's best weapon who will be out there. I like the 13.5 with the UCF Golden Knights in this spot with maybe a quarterback upgrade.
I took him. And then now Ja'Cory Brown played last week. He threw for 229 yards. They did have the football with about 30 seconds left. They were inside the 25-yard line, couldn't convert to potentially steal that against Cincinnati. They didn't cover. They lost outright as a 3.5-point dog. Biggest change for Central Florida, Ben, and you know this. The first 3 games of the regular season, they were averaging 378 rushing yards per game. That was with Jefferson in there. Competition was light. They were averaging well over 6 yards per rush as a team. They dipped now heading into this matchup of 268 per game. R.J. Harvey's under 100 yards over the last 3 games. But Ja'Cory Brown can make some plays over the top, also with his legs. And Iowa State's given up 142 rushing yards per game. I think that could be the difference. We saw them. They really disposed of West Virginia. West Virginia was one-dimensional. On the road, I think they're playing with house money. The fact that it's 13.5 and almost 2 touchdowns, I think Iowa State might win, but I think UCF makes it a 4-quarter game. I took them.
Joe, the Cyclones' defense is a compelling thing. They're tied for the 5th best scoring defense in the country. They only allow 11 points per game. They are the 5th best passing defense in the country, 1 of 5 to allow less than $150 through the air. But they are giving up a lot of yardage on the ground. They allowed $148 last week to West Virginia as a team. But as we highlight what Ja'Cory Brown can do for Central Florida, Garrett Green had 87 yards for the Mountaineers. They do allow some chunk plays. No rushing yards prop on Ja'Cory Brown just yet. He had 16 carries for 84 yards in his debut last week against Cincinnati, his first start for Gus Malzahn and UCF. I would love to key in that number. R.J. Harvey's prop around 77.5. R.J. Harvey less than 100 in these 3 consecutive losses for UCF because, Joe, as you alluded to, the Knights in the first 3 games of the year, the best rushing offense in the country, 378 yards per game. I also think Iowa State through the air against the UCF defense that has been exposed by aerial attacks. Keep an eye on Rocco Becht and his 2 leading receivers, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll in this matchup. We'll talk some of the props in just a little bit. Last week, Kansas State on the road in Boulder, having to come back at the wire once again. Avery Johnson, not good on the ground as some might have predicted, but did find Jace Brown for a 50-yard touchdown with just over 2 minutes remaining in regulation as K-State wins over Colorado 31-28. The Buffs do cover, though, as a 3.5-point home underdog. So K-State stays on the road this week, Kev, against a West Virginia team that has been disappointing. West Virginia at home last week. Trappy spot for Iowa State. Unable to really stay competitive in that football game. Just 1-2 against the number as an underdog this year. But here it is once again. Another road test for a K-State team under Chris Kleiman that has not been great away from the Little Apple. How do you see it playing out tonight in Morgantown?
Look, let's not forget Colorado's best player, Travis Hunter, left that game very early, and when you lose Hunter, you lose your best receiver and your best cornerback all in one play, which is a really tough blow for Colorado. The fact that they not only still covered the game but led with 3 minutes to go in this football game, man, that it probably sinks their season, which is crazy to say, but it probably does for Colorado. But for K-State, who I still think, again, is the best team pound for pound in the Big 12, this is a really bad spot. On the road again, as you mentioned, right? With the fact that now you have West Virginia, who just kind of got up for an upset against Iowa State, left waiting and wanting a little bit more, I can only look Mountaineers here and Garrett Green.
I like West Virginia as well. They didn't cover against Iowa State, but I do feel their offense can move the football. Back-to-back road games for me, Ben, is the difference. They might be a little bit banged up from playing Colorado, expended a lot of energy. They won but didn't cover 31-28. And I like West Virginia's offense as long as they cannot turn over the football. That was a cause of concern. And at least sustain drives early on. If they score first, I think they're going to be in this game. Plus the 2.5. I like them plus 114 on the money line.
55.5 is the total. West Virginia in its 3 games as a dog this year, all 3 under. Kansas State still in Big 12 play, despite being 1-2 ATS this year. 30-17-3 against the number, with Chris Kleiman as the head coach. That has been the case since 2019. Best in the conference. But on the road, in the last 2 seasons, the Wildcats are 1-6-1 against the spread. It is tied for the second worst at the FBS level alongside USC in the last 2 years. But where West Virginia struggles is throwing the football. Garrett Green less than 210 and 4 of 5 against FBS foes. Kansas State is really good on the ground. Second best rushing defense in all of college football. Army and Navy are undefeated and ranked. We break down the Black Knights and the Midshipmen next.
That kid on the 2-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Army is unbeaten, 6-0 for the first time since 1996. The Black Knights ranked inside the AP top 25. Navy also undefeated, 5-0 for the first time in a while, looking to go 6-0 for the first time since 1979. Both the midshipmen and the Black Knights are ranked inside the AP poll for the first time together in the same week since 1960. Welcome to a generational season of college football in 2024. We start with the Black Knights today. Army at home on the shores of the Hudson River up in upstate New York. Joe, inside Michie Stadium, one of the great venues in college football, especially on this gorgeous fall Saturday. Army a 3-score favorite at home against East Carolina. We talked about BYU, unbeaten entering last night, still is straight up 7-0. They were one of two teams entering week 8 alongside Army. Also unbeaten against the number, a perfect 6-0 ATS. BYU no longer. Will Army be 7-0 both straight up and against the number after today?
I think they win, but I don't think they cover the 16.5. I'd be inclined to take East Carolina. The reason why I say that is they do have a pretty good passing attack, averaging 260 total yards per game. Army only giving up 189 yards through against opposing offenses and quarterbacks. Very good in run support. They're only giving up basically 90 rushing yards per game. They've been very good, Army. 56% third down offense. In recent years, they've been under 50. That's why you've seen a little bit inconsistency. But the way you beat the triple option is over the top. It's like a track meet. You jump up early, you take them out of the game plan. I think East Carolina is more built to do that than in the next game, Charlotte over Navy. So give me the points with ECU, even though they're on the road, Kev.
So Bryson Daly is having a ridiculous season. 20 total touchdowns. He probably should be shorter than 150 to 1 to win the Heisman Trophy, even if he's not going to win the Heisman Trophy. But that is a lot of touchdowns for an unbeaten football team. I, though, am seeing what I think is one of the oddest spots I've ever seen. Under 98.5 passing yards, Bryson Daly. I've never seen a sell-high spot on a triple option quarterback, but here we have it. Over this in 3 of 4, but we're still 3-3 on this total so far this season. What's happening is he's averaging an additional 5.4 yards per pass attempt because it's an additional 9 yards per reception so far this season. He's still only averaging 80 yards per game, He's the quarterback for Army.
Yeah.
He's not thrown it 10 times in a single game this season. So I have to play under 98.5 passing yards on Bryson Daly.
Fading the troops. Don't like to see that. 130.5, the rushing yards prop for Daly, who has run for at least 110 in all 5 games against FBS competition this year. 12 rushing scores. As Kev alluded to, it should be no surprise to know the Cadets are the best rushing offense in the country, averaging 370 yards per game. An Army offensively this year, sensational. They have been a favorite of 2+ points in 5 of 6 games this year. Over in the first 4. The only under last week against UAB. It's because the Blazers barely scored. Army still put up 44 points. Second best scoring defense in the country. That is Army along with Ole Miss, the only 2 allowing less than double digits this year. So Army is unbeaten, 6-0 for the first time since 1996. Ranked in the AP poll for the first time since 2020 and a 3-score favorite today. Same story for the Mids. Navy ranked for the first time since 2019, 16.5-point favorite, Joe, against Charlotte. These are all AAC contests as of this Saturday. In Charlotte, the Niners in this game with Biff Poggi, also unbeaten in conference competition, a perfect 2-0. Can Navy roll in this matchup as the odds indicate?
I think they can. With Blake Horvath and that offense, they're averaging 295 rushing yards per game. The weakness of Charlotte is the front 7, giving up $182 on the ground to opposing offenses. What I really like here, and I think Navy does win, it could be a close game, but I love the over 55.5. Blake Horvath can throw the football as well. Navy's built a little bit differently than Army. They throw it a little bit more, a little bit more successfully, and Horvath can, I think, get over any number that they post today. I'll lay it if I had to with Navy, but I'd take the over 55.5, Kev.
So here's the thing, a little spread math, right? But if Navy and Army are about the same, Charlotte just caught 8.5 at home from ECU, but they won the game by 31.
Yeah.
Navy would be the side, except I am never going to probably ever lay 2+ touchdowns with a Service Academy. Would look team total for Navy in the game.
Navy, one of 2 teams, along with Vanderbilt, over in every single game this year. We go super fast up next.
That kid on the 2-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this third Saturday in October. It is college football today on SportsGrid. Joe Lisi, Kevin Walsh, and Ben Stevens. And Kev, now time to break down a lot of the slate and do so very quickly.
I will say, some are saying the RPO name on the ropes, Bagel Best Bets, the buffet special is coming up as well. It's an RPO. I'm trying to, on the fly, figure out, breakfast-related items with an R, P, and an O. Pancakes, easy.
Did he say muffins?
Waffles.
Yeah.
Omelets?
Okay, get an R. Get an R on the board.
I don't even know what you're talking about, to be honest with you. Can we just get to the breakdown?
Yeah, fair enough.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, bagel owners across the world. USC, Maryland, Lisi, Lincoln Riley, legit hot seat game.
Ooh.
A loss here, and things start to percolate in Southern California.
Yeah, most overrated coach in college history, in my opinion.
History?
Him and Ryan Day are up there.
Okay.
Ryan couldn't win with Caleb Williams. Certainly can't win with Miller Moss. Lost to Minnesota, lost to Penn State last week. They don't cover the 7.5 number against Billy Edwards in Maryland. I don't know what to say, but that would be their third loss. They do have the speed advantage on the perimeter. They're averaging 30 points per game. It's USC or bust for me. But I have to admit, after last week's letdown, potential under the total today.
I'm going over the total today. Maryland over in all 3 Big Ten games. USC over in 3 of their 4 Big Ten games. They're 1-3 in conference action in their opening year in the league. USC did allow more than 510 yards of total offense to Penn State, but only 3.8 yards per carry. The Nittany Lions did not dominate on the ground as I anticipated. But this is where it really comes down to Maryland. And you're right. If USC were to go on the road, traveling time zones to the East Coast once again and lose, oh boy, that seat would become scorching hot in Southern California. But Maryland in Big Ten play with Mike Locksley since the start of 2019, 14-30 straight up in just 15-29 against the number. That is the worst by far in the Big Ten. It is the second worst among power conference programs in that span. They lost outright at home last week as a double-digit favorite against Northwestern. And oh, by the way, 2 of 3 opposing quarterbacks have thrown for at least 350 against the Terrapins at Big Ten play. Miller Moss's passing yards prop, 275.5. Here's an intriguing one. We go to East Lansing, Michigan State and Iowa. The Hawkeyes rolling over Washington last week. But, Kev, this line has been on the move throughout the week. It is less than a touchdown in favor of the Hawks. It has dipped as low at times to only 5.5 in favor of Iowa. How do you break down the game in East Lansing between Michigan State and Iowa?
Spot of the season? For Michigan State here, the issue is I wanted to get up to that 7. Sparty off of a bye, where Jonathan Smith's been incredible off a bye during his time in college football. Last 2 games, Ohio State and Oregon. This is what I call swinging without the donut. Now all of a sudden you play Iowa, and it looks like you're playing an FCS-level team. And that's not disrespect to Iowa. That's the fact that they just played Ohio State and Oregon, and they're now coming off of a bye. Kitchen sink game for Sparty. If we get to 7, they get on card.
I took him plus the 6.5. I really like Sparty. I'm a bold guy. Swinging without the donut. Little baseball reference. I will say that. I love it. I will say last year, Iowa's won 2 straight in the series. They won this game 26-16. Last year in Iowa City, they were a 13.5-point favorite. That was the Cooper DeJean punt return that really changed the complexity of that matchup. But the fact that they're at home, this could be a marquee win for Jonathan Smith. Lower scoring, ugly type of game. I think they win it potentially. I'm just not sold on Iowa in a road spot, even with that offense. Even though they stepped up and got the turnovers against Washington last week, give me Miss State.
Iowa as a road favorite since 2021, 4-1 against the number, covering by an average margin of 11 points per game. A perfect 2-0 against the spread as a favorite in Big Ten matchups. These not your brothers, Iowa Hawkeyes. They've been over in 5 of 6 games. I think this is a low total. Keep an eye on Caleb Johnson, second leading rusher in college football, 937 yards, 12 rushing scores. If I just may, He's accounted for 44% of Iowa's yardage this year. The most rushing touchdowns in a single season for the Hawks since 2015. Iowa's played 6 games.
I just wanted to say a lot of donut talk. Is a donut a breakfast food?
I brought in donuts last week. Nobody ate
a couple weeks ago, but they're good.
Apple cider.
Bacon, egg, cheese.
Handmade.
Maybe we call it the BEC.
Entenmann's chocolate frosted.
Are you looking for like a breakfast reference? Is that what you're looking for?
It's a bagel best bet. We'll get to your bagel best bet.
Waffles.
For the guys out there maybe listening and whipping on some cream trees.
Carbs. It's the egg special.
Yeah, you love that egg salad. That is for sure. All right, could the dogs be barking in SEC territory today? Is Oklahoma a home underdog once again? The line working in even pick'em right now. -110 on both sides, Kev, for Oklahoma playing host to South Carolina. Yeah. But the Sooners catching 1.5 now in that spread. 40.5 is the total. What happens tonight in Norman?
I only can look South Carolina here. The offense, I think, is sneaky good. We saw the team total come in a monster way in that game against Alabama. Oklahoma off Red River, it's a nightmarish spot for them. And the fact that they lose here and all of a sudden you're probably going to have to put Venables on that hot seat, Joe. I look South Carolina in the game.
I lean Oklahoma. Don't love it. Because they're home dogs, I like that. Oklahoma, I just believe back-to-back road games for South Carolina, having Alabama on the ropes. You got a lot out of Lenora Sellers. They're a hot and cold, inconsistent offense. 1 week they're good, 1 week they're bad. Go back 2 weeks ago where they only scored 3 points against Ole Miss. I'm not sure that's going to travel well. I still believe in Brett Venables' defense. Here's the thing, though. I think Oklahoma can move the football. Still a believer that they're building things with younger players. I think they sail through the total. 40.5, to me, is way too light for this game.
Oklahoma, the worst total offense in the SEC, averaging just 288 yards per game. Michael Hawkins Jr., 161 yards or less in all 3 games. He has played at least 12 carries. They've got no rushing offense. Does this Oklahoma team only 122 yards on the ground? This will be OU's second game as a home dog this year, if that's where the spread stays. They were only a home underdog once in the previous 10 seasons. Again, maybe some home dogs doing some barking today. We head now to the Swamp, Joe Lisi, where Florida also only getting 1.5, but takes on Kentucky. Graham Mertz, a season-ending knee injury. He is done for the remainder of this year. So it's the freshman DJ Lagway taking over. Kentucky as a favorite in SEC play, losing outright in each spot. Big to South Carolina, big to Vanderbilt a week ago as well. Can Florida use some of that home cooking in the Swamp?
They can. Now, they were in a similar spot against UCF and won the ball game outright as dogs, right? Well, in this spot, I give the edge to Kentucky. They've won 3 straight by 12 points per game. Biggest thing for me, Kev, is the defensive secondary. Stoops going up against the freshman and inexperienced quarterback. I'll take that any day of the week, even though he stepped up against Tennessee on the road. Give me Kentucky. I think we can get points over this total as well.
He's on Kentucky in Florida.
Yeah.
And he's got Florida beating Georgia. That's
Why not?
tough.
Why?
I thought you weren't on Kentucky. You were on points in this game.
Well, I would lean to Kentucky.
Love the Gators at home in this spot, 11-6 straight up with Billy Napier as a home team. Kev, also maybe some dogs barking in Tucson. Colorado was a 3.5-point underdog, now a 2.5-point spread. Can the Buffs pull off the outright upset against the Cats?
Here's the deal with this game. It's kind of a perfect parlay type of spot where we just, all right, let's grab Shadur's total's a little bit down, Fafita's a little down, McMillan, Hunter, touchdowns. This game should have juice. Like, I think both of these teams, a little handshake deal. Like, let's just be electric. Let's both score 35 in this game here, Joe, because we've got superstars on both sides of the field.
I lean to Arizona. Don't love it, but I'll take a shot on the over 58.5 because both quarterbacks want to chuck. There is still speed on the perimeter with McMillan and those receivers for Colorado.
Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn Jr. both banged up last week, expected to play. Texas Tech, and they cover 5.5 at home in Lubbock today.
Scary, I'll say that, but I do give them the edge.
Points,
Baylor.
maybe?
Baylor!
Yeah.
Baylor!
We knew that was coming. More on college football today with the coach. That's coming up next.
That That kid on the two-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
We get you set for this monumental Week 8 college football slate here on College Football Today, live on this Saturday. It's Joe Lisi, it's Ben Stevens, but more importantly, it's that coaching insight from Coach Terry Bowden. As always, Coach Bowden, we appreciate the time. Before we get into your football insight, in our breakfast conversation, our last segment, you had something you wanted to offer up. What was the name of the breakfast item we need to consider?
Well, down here, it's not starting with an R, but it has an R in it. Grits, and you better eat your grits. And I think Georgia had more grits this morning than Texas.
You got to think so. A big way to use some of that momentum getting ready for this top 5 tilt in Austin. And Coach Bowden, that's where we begin. The first top 5 showdown Texas has hosted in nearly 2 decades. And the first time for the Dogs as a dog in quite a while as well. Georgia getting 4.5 points on the road in Austin for this primetime showdown tonight. As it stands at this moment, Coach, how competitive do you expect this top 5 tilt to be between number 1 Texas and number 5 Georgia?
Oh, I think it's huge. Both these teams got great talent. I do believe Texas should be number 1 and a little more talent on the field at one time. But Georgia has been there before. They have an experienced coach who's gotten to the ends of the game. And I just got this feel for Georgia. I've talked to people in Athens. The team is focused. They're ready to go. They're win by 3. When that line goes up, I get a little nervous. I've got them winning, but less than 3.
Coach, let's look at Quinn Ewers. Last week, 199 yards. He came off the injury, looked a little bit rusty, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Texas rushed for 177 yards on the Sooners defense. Do you see Texas attacking Georgia over the top or more with the rushing attack, at least early on in this ballgame?
Yeah, Joe, when you get these two teams that are very talented, I don't think you can think in terms of we're going to be a running team today or a passing team today. If you don't pass and mix it with a run, you're not going to be strong enough. If you pass and don't run the football, you're going to get sacked. You're not going to have protection. So I think Texas is going to throw the ball. They've got a great quarterback, great receivers, and a very good running attack. I think both teams have got to mix it up, and that's where most people are picking Texas to be a little better at that.
Texas ranks top 10 in scoring and total offense, also the best scoring and total defense in all of the country. It's been Georgia defensively. The questions have arose, at least by the standards, for Kirby Smart and the Dogs in Athens. Coach, a significant Saturday in the SEC. It's the third Saturday in October. The rivalry matchup in Knoxville between 11th-ranked Tennessee and 7th-ranked Alabama. Neither team stellar last week in their bounce-back spot after a loss the weekend prior. How do you expect this game to look this afternoon on Rocky Top?
Well, I'm going to tell you, there's some great pluses from both these teams, but the minuses concern them both. Alabama, they have not been consistent on defense. Tennessee, they don't know who they are on offense, and I don't think those two factors will be the factor. When I have those kind of uncertainties, I always turn to who has the more veteran, experienced, quality quarterbacks. And I got to go with Milroe. This will be the difference in this football game will be Milroe because Nico's not quite ready to get the whole thing done.
Well, Coach, let's keep it there with Nico and the inconsistency of the offense for Tennessee. We talked about it. Under 5 yards per carry over the last 3 games. What can Josh Heupel and that offense do to maybe keep that Alabama defense guessing, right? They don't have Carson back under center. So what can Nico and that offense do to at least move the football tonight?
2 things he's got to do. One, he's got to hit the deep ball. He's been overthrowing deep ball. My dad always told me there's 2 certainties in sports. Short putts never go in and overthrown footballs never get caught. He's got completions, not long overthrows, and that's what he's been doing. If they will continue to, and then after looking at one shot, he's got to run. If he sees an alley, that's your first option. If he will scramble quickly from the downfield, but if something's wide open, take it early. And then hit your deep balls downfield and quit overthrowing those deep balls.
Yeah, Nico Iamaleava has struggled in 3 SEC games, a $196 through the air or less. Can this Alabama defense find a pulse? 5th worst scoring defense in the SEC, unheard of the last 17 years under Nick Saban. Coach Bowden, 3 ranked versus ranked matchups on this third Saturday in October and 1 in the Big Ten. It's the Illini and the Wolverines. Michigan pays a visit to Champaign today to take on Illinois. The Maize in blue, a 3.5-point road favorite against this Illinois team. What's the key matchup for this Big Ten battle in your estimation?
I think Jack Tuttle, the quarterback for Michigan, is going to be a huge key if they're going to mix it up a little bit. A lot of us just got that. Illinois has got that feel for. I just think they've got a way to win games like this. And there's an old saying: if you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. We'll exclude Texas this year. They've got 3 quarterbacks, and they're on their 3rd. And you don't put the guy 3rd for the preseason, for the offseason, for the first 3 games, unless there's something less in that position than the other 2 quarterbacks. So when I look at this one, I look at the uncertainty at quarterback for Michigan, and I think the Illinois will come back and will win this football game.
Coach, when you look at the emotional aspect, they're honoring Red Grange. They have the uniforms today. There are going to be a lot of fans in attendance. What can Michigan do and the coaching staff, Jerome Moore, do to at least take this fan base out of this game early on from a team perspective?
Well, again, they've got to move the ball at offense. If you play great defense, it keeps the game close, but you got to have some offense, too, to put the home team on the distant edge. We saw what happened at LSU. The closer the game got to the end, their fans exploded when they played Ole Miss. You've got to get yourself in a position, and I think you've got to do it offensively. You've got to make some ways to score points because that factor, it'll be a factor in the crowd and the crowd's input into the game.
The Illini did not cover last week as a hefty 3-touchdown favorite against Purdue. That game went to overtime, but under Brett Bielema, Illinois not great as a favorite, 7-11-2 against the number. As an underdog under Burt, 5-8 against the spread, including 9 outright victories, Coach Bowden, like you alluded to, for this top 25 tilt in Champaign today. It's the coach, Terry Bowden, getting you set for week number 8 of this college football season, and some hints on how to start your day for a college football Saturday. Make sure grit's a part of the diet. Coach Bowden, we appreciate the time.
Put cheese in those grits now.
Cheese in the grits.
I'll bring them next week.
A ton of coaching insight out of Coach Bowden.
I'll bring them next week. I'll bring the grits for the crew, Coach.
That means we got to get Coach in person up here in New Jersey.
We could do that.
Coach, you want to take the trip to the Tri-State?
Let me know. I'll be up there with you. We'll go do it.
That's what I like to hear. Coach Bowden, we appreciate the time as always. More breakdowns with some plus money prices on college football today. Up next.
That kid on the two-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to College Football Today, live right here on this Saturday on SportsGrid. We're going to switch it up a little bit this week. We're going to get you into the end zone with some end zone excellence. Is it? To find some value for you across the college football slate, but not just looking at games all around the nation. Specific picks. Kevin Walsh, take it away.
Let's make it happen, folks. It's time for our favorite Pay Dirt picks. I'll begin in the Big 12 with UCF running back R.J. Harvey. Doesn't score last week. That was the first time this season at minus 110, which is what that is sorry, that threw me off. I didn't know what that said. That might be my eyes. At minus 110, I think you're getting a great number on a running back who only once last season went back-to-back without finding the end zone.
Yeah.
Caleb Johnson put up 2 scores against this team. West Virginia's lead back, Jaheim White, scored as well. I like UCF in the game. I think R.J. Harvey scores, Joe.
That's a nice look. We talked about it in the pregame. 3 games under 100 yards over the past 3 weeks. He could break out in this matchup against Iowa State. I went to LSU. Forget Kyron Lacey, Mason Taylor, Josh Williams. I went to Xavier Thomas. He's a 2-to-1 shot tonight on the road in Fayetteville. 2 receptions, 36 yards. I think Nussmeier will have success through the air. The 3rd and 4th options potentially could hit pay dirt. And again, I think LSU's the right side. It's going to be a close game early on. I think they pull away. Could win it by double digits. Give me Xavier Thomas at 2-to-1.
Garrett Nussmeier has put up at least 285 passing yards in all 6 games for the Bayou Bengals this year. Here is my favorite thing about pay dirt picks, anytime touchdown scoring numbers in college football. You see minus 185, and you might say, is this guy nuts for a random event like finding the end zone? Trust me, it is still value in CFB. Tawee Walker, the transfer from Oklahoma, for a resurgence offensively for Wisconsin. He has put up multiple touchdowns on the ground in all 3 Big Ten games for the Badgers. He has scored 8 in total, including 3 last week for Wisconsin in their matchup against Rutgers. The Badgers on the road today, taking on Northwestern. And how about our guy, our executive producer, Chris Kofsky, always with Anytime TD sizzles each and every Saturday. Squirrel White One of the best names in college football, the wideout for Tennessee, plus 270 to find Pater. There you see Chris's smiling face, longtime caller on the money line. No touchdowns yet this year for Squirrel White, but his last 2 games, he has led the team in targets in both. If the offensive production for Nico Iamaleava and the Volunteers can be better tonight against a bad Alabama defense to start this season, maybe he finds the end zone.
Oh, you haven't got me like that in a while.
Yeah,
you son of a gun.
Yeah,
all right, what do we go for the loot?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, play a money.
Oh, yeah,
Round
great.
yourselves up today.
Oh, that's good.
All giggles on the show.
Take it away.
Joey Giggles. Open up the phone. We're going for the loot. Open it up.
We've already run the stinger. Now you're pissed.
UCF plus 420. How about that? He said Harvey, RJ Harvey. Now, yeah, there it is. Open it up. Going for the loop. Go bigger.
Crypto on its way up.
We talked about Brown, Ja'Cory Brown taking over for KJ Jefferson.
Yeah.
They're in Ames. I think Iowa State potentially will be ahead, but I think this UCF team is alive. I have 420 on the road. They're playing with house money. They can run it. I think Iowa State's suspect. Give me the Knights.
I decided that I honestly wasn't breaking the rules enough by not putting a money line dog in here. I decided to go home to the specials market. So far, if you look on this season, K-State against the pass, bad. West Virginia against the pass, bad. 2 quarterbacks that don't throw it a ton, Garrett Green and Avery Johnson, creates value. 500-plus combined passing yards is plus 550 for Avery Johnson and Garrett Green.
Really?
I like that.
550.
Oh, he's in.
I might be in.
Plus 550 for 500 plus. Don't mind the look. And West Virginia has not been great defensively. K-State has allowed 3 300-yard passers throughout this season. I go moneyline underdog. I go late-night magic in Corvallis for Oregon State against UNLV. Line working in my favor. The technical rules of GT, FT, TT, Liti, 2-1 moneyline underdog or higher. It was plus 210 when the Bees were a 7.5-point underdog earlier this week, now getting only 6.5 at plus 180. Here's the key. Oregon State great at home the last 2.5 college football seasons. 13-3 straight up in Corvallis, but they need to contain the run in the go-go offense of the Running Rebels in Hajj Malik Williams. If they do that, they might strike the upset tonight in Corvallis. 3's up for our third and final hour that starts with heavyweight bouts in the ACC. Next.
That kid on the 2-point conversion play was wide open on the right side of the end zone, and the kid threw it about 15 rows over his head.
People crystallize Georgia and Alabama. They put them on the shelf above everyone else, and they're just not there this year. I thought the kid Beck was great on Saturday, but they barely beat Mississippi State, who is porous.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.